The blizzard hit Interstate 90 like God's own fist. Declan Thorne gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles white against the black leather. Snow came sideways now, thick and hostile, turning the Montana highway into a tunnel of white static. The wipers beat a losing rhythm. Thump, 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 thump. Each pass cleared the windshield for maybe 2 seconds before the next wave buried it again. 38 years old, 3 weeks retired from the Navy SEALs. Driving through a blizzard to watch his mother die of cancer in Seattle. This was what his life had become. In the passenger seat, Sargent didn't move. The German shepherd sat perfectly still, amber eyes fixed forward, body tense with the alertness of a dog who'd survived 3 tours in Iraq. 92 pounds of muscle and scar tissue, black and tan coat, a shrapnel wound running along his right ribs that the Army veterinarians said should have killed him. Should have killed them both. Declan's mind went where it always went when the road stretched empty and the silence pressed in. Back to Fallujah. Back to the last mission, back to the IED buried under a market stall that Sargent had detected 3 seconds too late. The explosion came in fragments. A flash of white heat, the world tilting sideways, Rojas screaming. Then nothing. Just blood and dust and the sound of his own heartbeat slowing down, giving up, accepting the end. Sargent had dragged him out, 180 pounds of dead weight through rubble and gunfire. The dog's teeth clamped on Declan's tactical vest, pulling, refusing to let go, refusing to leave another soldier behind. 3 men died that day, Rojas, Mackenzie, Lou, good men, brothers, men with families waiting, with futures planned, with reasons to come home. Declan survived. He didn't know why, didn't know if he deserved to. The PTSD diagnosis came 6 months later. Medical discharge, honorable separation. A handshake from a general who'd never been shot at, a pension that barely covered rent, and Sargent who the Army let him keep because nobody else could handle a dog that broken. 2 broken soldiers going home. Except Declan didn't have a home anymore. The cabin he rented in the woods outside Whitefish was temporary. Everything was temporary. He woke up at 0300 every morning from nightmares that felt more real than memory. He ate because Sargent nudged the food bowl toward him. He showered because the routine was the only thing between functional and complete dissolution. And now his mother was dying. Lung cancer, stage 4. The doctors gave her 3 weeks, maybe 4. She wanted to see him one last time, wanted to hold her son's hand while the morphine dragged her under for good. Declan didn't know if he could do it. Didn't know if he had anything left to give. The highway curved ahead, invisible under the snow. Declan eased off the accelerator. The truck's headlights barely penetrated 10 feet. Smart thing would be to pull over, wait out the storm. But stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering, and remembering meant the bottle of whiskey in the glove box calling his name. He'd been sober 47 days. 47 days since he'd stood on the cliff behind his cabin with his service pistol and seriously considered whether anyone would even notice if Declan Thorne stopped existing. Sargent had noticed. The dog had positioned himself between Declan and the edge ears. Flat eyes locked on his master with an intensity that said, "I didn't drag you out of Fallujah so you could do this." Declan had put the gun down, poured the whiskey out, made it through another day. But the thoughts never really left. They just waited, patient, hungry, ready for the next moment of weakness. A sign emerged from the White Ember Falls. 2 miles. Declan had never heard of Ember Falls, probably another dying Montana town, mining bust or mill closure, the kind of place young people fled and old people waited to die in. But it had buildings, shelter, maybe a gas station still open. Sargent shifted in his seat. The dog's nose lifted, testing the air even though the windows were closed. His ears rotated forward, alert. "What is it, boy?" Sargent looked at him, those amber eyes that had seen things no dog should see. Bombs, blood, brothers falling. The dog whined once soft and low, then returned his attention to the windshield. Declan took the exit. The off-ramp descended into a valley where the storm somehow felt thicker, more personal. Buildings appeared like ghosts, a closed gas station, a shuttered hardware store. Everything dark except for one light burning warm and golden about a quarter-mile ahead. Pine Brook Diner. The neon sign flickered but held. Open 24 hours it promised, though Declan doubted that was still true. His hands ached from gripping the wheel. His shoulders carried tension like body armor. Coffee. He needed coffee. Maybe some food. Enough fuel to make it through the next 100 miles to Seattle. He pulled into the parking lot. Only 3 other vehicles. A rusted pickup, a sedan with Idaho plates, a cherry-red convertible that looked obscenely out of place in the middle of a Montana blizzard. Declan killed the engine. The sudden silence was absolute. Just wind and snow and the whisper of doubt that maybe he should keep driving. Nothing good happened when you stopped. Stopping meant thinking. Thinking meant Sergeant barked, sharp, commanding. The bark he'd used in Fallujah when he detected explosives. Easy. Declan put his hand on the dog's head. It's just a diner. But Sergeant's hackles were up now. His lips pulled back slightly, showing teeth. His gaze fixed on the diner's front window. Through the glass, Declan could see movement. People sitting in booths, a waitress moving between tables, everything normal, everything fine. Then he saw her face, the waitress, young, maybe mid-20s, brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. She was refilling coffee for someone Declan couldn't quite see from this angle. Her smile was practiced, professional, the smile of someone who'd learned to make tips by making people comfortable. But her hands shook, just slightly, just enough. Declan knew that shake. He'd seen it in villages in Iraq when locals tried to pretend insurgents weren't watching. The shake that said, "I'm scared, but I can't show it." "Stay," he told Sergeant. The dog whined again. Disagreement. Protest. "I said stay." Declan stepped out into the blizzard. The cold hit like a physical blow. Montana cold. The kind that found every gap in your clothing and reminded you that nature didn't care if you lived or died. His breath came out in clouds. Snow immediately started building on his shoulders. He was halfway to the diner when Sergeant started barking. Not the alert bark, the attack bark, the bark that meant threat, imminent danger close, get down now. Declan spun back toward the truck. Sergeant wasn't barking at him. The dog stood on the driver's seat, paws on the steering wheel, barking at the diner. At something inside the diner. At something Declan couldn't see. And then he heard the scream. Female, terrified, cut off almost immediately, but unmistakable. Declan's body moved before his mind caught up. Muscle memory from 100 combat insertions. He crossed the parking lot in 6 strides, hit the diner door with his shoulder. The bell above jingled cheerfully, absurdly normal. The scene inside imprinted itself on his brain in one flash. 10 people frozen like a photograph. An old man with a coffee cup halfway to his lips. A woman in a booth with her hands over her mouth. A cook visible through the kitchen window, eyes wide. And in the center of the room, a young man in expensive clothes had the waitress by the hair. Her name tag said Autumn. Her nose was bleeding. Her eyes were squeezed shut against the pain. The young man, blonde, well-groomed, the kind of handsome that came from money and personal trainers, had her head yanked back at an angle that made Declan's own neck ache in sympathy. In his other hand, he held a coffee cup. Dark liquid dripped onto white tile. "Servants need to learn their place," the young man said. His voice carried the lazy confidence of someone who'd never been told no. "Look at this. You spilled sauce on my $1,000 shoes." Declan took it all in. The waitress's terrified face, the frozen customers, the expensive clothes on the young man, the woman beside him, designer dress, professional makeup, arms crossed like she was bored by the whole display. This wasn't random violence. This was power. This was someone who knew he could hurt people and walk away clean. The door swung shut behind Declan. The bell jingled again. The young man's eyes flicked toward him. Annoyance more than concern. "This doesn't concern you, friend. Keep walking." Declan didn't walk. He stood perfectly still, feet shoulder-width apart, hands loose at his sides, the posture of a man who'd spent 15 years learning how to kill people efficiently. "Let her go." The words came out quiet, calm, the voice Declan used when talking to hostage-takers in Fallujah. No anger, no threat, just certainty. The young man's grip loosened slightly. Confusion crossed his face. People didn't usually tell him what to do. "Do you know who I am? I know you've got about 3 seconds to let go of her hair before this situation gets worse for you." The woman in the designer dress laughed, sharp and brittle. "Sterling, just ignore him. He's nobody." Sterling. The name meant nothing to Declan, but the way Sterling's jaw tightened, the way his free hand moved toward his pocket, that meant something. Sterling was considering whether he could take Declan, weighing options, calculating odds. Declan had seen that look before, usually right before someone did something stupid. "I don't think you understand the situation," Sterling said. His voice tried for threatening but landed somewhere around petulant. "My family owns this building. We own most of this town. That means I own her." He shook the waitress Autumn like she was a disobedient pet. "At least while she's on the clock." The old man with the coffee cup finally moved, started to stand. "Now hold on. Sit down, Tom." Sterling didn't even look at him. "This doesn't concern you." Tom sat. The shame on his face was worse than the fear. Declan took one step forward. Sterling's hand came out of his pocket. No weapon, just a phone. "I'm calling the sheriff. You've got about 5 minutes before you spend the night in a cell for threatening me." "I haven't threatened you yet." "Yet?" Sterling smiled. "That sounds like a threat." The door opened again. Declan didn't turn, didn't take his eyes off Sterling, but he heard the click of claws on tile, felt the familiar presence at his left side. Sargent had broken out of the truck, had followed his master into whatever situation was unfolding, because that's what brothers did. They had your back. Sterling's smile died. His eyes dropped to the German shepherd standing perfectly still beside Declan. 92 pounds of controlled violence. Amber eyes locked on Sterling with the focus of a predator that had identified prey. "Nice dog," Sterling said. His voice had lost its confidence. "But I think you should leave, both of you." Declan looked at the waitress, at Autumn. Her eyes were open now, meeting his, brown eyes full of fear and something else. Hope, maybe, or desperation. The look of someone drowning who just spotted a piece of driftwood. "Let her go," Declan said again. Sterling's grip tightened. Autumn gasped in pain, and Sargent growled. It wasn't loud, didn't need to be. It was the sound of a military working dog giving a final warning. The sound that preceded attack, low and rolling and absolutely certain. Sterling let go. Autumn stumbled backward into a booth. Her hand went to her scalp. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps that might have been sobs if she let them. Sterling raised both hands in mock surrender. "Fine. Jesus, it's not worth it." He pulled out his phone. "But you're done. My father is going to—" "Your father can get in line." The voice came from the doorway. Declan turned. An older man stood there, 55, maybe 60, silver hair perfectly styled, expensive suit under an expensive coat, the kind of man who wore authority like other men wore watches. Behind him, 2 more men, security, thick necks, bulges under their jackets that said they were carrying. Their eyes swept the room professionally, cataloging threats, calculating responses. "Dad," Sterling started, "I can see what happened." The older man's voice was measured, controlled, the voice of someone who'd spent decades managing situations. "Sheriff Tucker is on his way. This will all be sorted out." Declan recognized a power play when he saw one. Bring in the law. Make the outsider the problem. Reset the narrative so the rich man's son was the victim. "I'm Colton Vaughn," the older man said. He didn't offer his hand. "And you've made a mistake coming here, friend." "I just stopped for coffee." "Then you should have stayed in your truck." Colton's eyes were cold, calculating. "Sterling can be enthusiastic, but that's no excuse for threatening my son." "I didn't threaten anyone. That's not how it's going to read in the police report." Colton stepped further into the diner. His security followed. Sheriff Tucker is a reasonable man. I'm sure we can all come to an understanding. Translation. Take money and leave or face charges. Declan had seen this before too. Different country, different uniform, same dynamic. Power protecting itself. The strong crushing the weak because they could. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Autumn was still in the booth, still holding her head, still bleeding from her nose. Nobody was helping her. Nobody was even looking at her anymore. The show was over. The waitress didn't matter. Declan walked to the booth, knelt down so he was eye level with her. Are you okay? She stared at him, shock more than fear now. Who are you? Nobody important. Can you stand? She nodded, tried. Her legs shook. Declan offered his hand. She took it. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Thank you, she whispered. The sirens were right outside now. Red and blue lights painted the diner windows. This isn't over, Colton Vaughn said quietly. You've made an enemy tonight. Declan looked at him. This wealthy man in his expensive suit. This father protecting his violent son. This representative of a system that let some people hurt others without consequence. I've had worse enemies. Sheriff Wade Tucker walked through the door like he owned it. Maybe he did. Mid-40s, thick around the middle, the kind of cop who'd spent more time at desks than in patrol cars. His uniform was pressed. His badge shined. His eyes went immediately to Colton Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn, Sterling, what seems to be the problem? Colton nodded toward Declan. This man assaulted my son, multiple witnesses. Tucker's hand dropped to his gun, not drawing, just resting. Sir, I'm going to need you to step away from the young lady. Declan didn't move. Your deputies might want to take a statement from her first. She's the one who was assaulted. I can see she's upset. Tucker's voice carried the patience of someone talking to a child. But Mr. Vaughn says, Mr. Vaughn's son slammed her face into a table, broke her nose, in front of 10 witnesses. Tucker finally looked at Autumn. Really looked. Saw the blood, the swelling, the terror still written on her face. For just a moment, something flickered in Tucker's eyes. Shame, maybe, or anger. The recognition that this was wrong and he knew it. Then it died, replaced by the blank professional courtesy of a man doing what he was paid to do. Miss Rivers, is that true? Autumn opened her mouth, closed it. Her eyes went to Sterling, to Colton, to the 2 security men with guns under their jackets. I tripped. It was an accident. The lie hung in the air like smoke. Declan felt something crack inside his chest, not anger, worse, disappointment. In her for lying, in himself for thinking this would be different, in a world where fear worked better than justice. There you go, Colton said smoothly. An unfortunate accident, no harm done. Sheriff, I think we can all go home now. Tucker nodded, started to turn, started to walk away from a woman bleeding in a diner because the man who hurt her had money and she didn't. Wait. The word came out harder than Declan intended. Tucker stopped. His hand went back to his gun, not resting now, ready. Sir, I'm going to need you to calm down. I'm calm. But this isn't an accident. You know it. I know it. Everyone in this room knows it. What I know, Tucker said slowly, is that you're an outsider making accusations you can't prove, and if you don't leave right now, I'm going to arrest you for disorderly conduct. Sergeant growled again, deeper this time. The security men tensed, hands moved toward weapons. This was the moment, the decision point. Walk away and let the system protect itself, or push and see what broke first, them or him. Declan had spent 15 years in the military learning when to fight and when to fall back. Regroup, gather intelligence, choose the battlefield. This wasn't his battlefield, not yet. Come on, Sergeant. The dog didn't move, kept his eyes locked on Sterling, kept growling. Sergeant, heel! Reluctantly, the dog backed toward Declan, still watching, still ready. Declan turned toward the door, took 2 steps, then stopped. "Miss Rivers!" He didn't look back. "If you need help, I'm at the Whitefish cabin off Route 93, white truck in the driveway. You can't miss it." "She won't need help," Colton Vaughn said. "And if you're still in this county tomorrow, Sheriff Tucker will make sure you regret it." Declan walked out into the blizzard. The cold felt clean after the heated tension inside. Snow had already covered his truck. Sargent jumped into the passenger seat, settled into position, watching the diner through the windshield. Declan sat behind the wheel. Didn't start the engine, just sat. His hands were shaking, not fear, adrenaline. The combat response his body still hadn't forgotten. His heart rate was elevated, his breathing shallow. The symptoms of PTSD that the VA therapist had explained in careful clinical language. But underneath the shaking, underneath the adrenaline, something else burned. Anger. Not the hot, explosive anger that got soldiers killed. The cold, calculating anger that came from watching injustice and being told to accept it. He'd seen it in Fallujah. Warlords terrorizing villages while coalition forces looked the other way because political considerations mattered more than people. He'd seen contractors steal from locals, seen officers cover for soldiers who hurt civilians, seen the strong prey on the weak and call it necessary. He'd told himself it was different back home, that America had laws and justice and systems that protected people. He'd been wrong. Through the diner window, he watched Autumn cleaning up, wiping blood from her face with a napkin. Sterling and his girlfriend were laughing about something. Colton Vaughn was talking to Sheriff Tucker, business as usual. Declan started the engine, put the truck in gear. Sargent whined, soft, questioning. "I know, boy, but it's not our fight." He pulled onto the highway. The blizzard had eased slightly. Visibility maybe 20 feet now instead of 10. Progress. Seattle was still 800 miles away. His mother was still dying. He was still broken, still trying to figure out how to keep living when all his reasons for living were buried in Iraqi sand. A diner waitress in a Montana town he'd never heard of wasn't his problem. He made it 3 miles before he turned around. The house on Maple Street looked like it was holding on by sheer stubbornness. Declan sat in his truck across the street, engine idling, watching. Single-story, faded yellow paint that might have been cheerful 20 years ago. Shutters that needed replacing. A chain-link fence around a yard where snow had buried whatever used to grow there. The porch light was on, warm and yellow against the white night. Through the front window he could see movement, shadows passing back and forth. He'd followed Autumn home, kept 3 cars back, professional distance, the kind of surveillance he'd run in Baghdad when tracking insurgents. Except this time he was following a terrified waitress to make sure she got home safe, which made him either a protector or a stalker depending on how you looked at it. Sargent shifted in the passenger seat. The dog's breath fogged the window. His eyes tracked every movement on the street with the hypervigilance of an animal that had learned the hard way that threats came from everywhere. Declan should leave, should get back on the highway, should let this woman and her problems fade into the rearview mirror along with every other bit of human suffering he couldn't fix. But his hands stayed on the steering wheel. His foot stayed off the gas, because he'd seen something in that diner, something that reminded him why he'd joined the military in the first place before the bureaucracy and politics and moral compromises had worn him down to nothing. He'd seen someone who needed help and wasn't going to get it. The front door of the yellow house opened. Autumn stepped out onto the porch. She'd changed clothes, jeans and a heavy sweater instead of the diner uniform. Her nose was bandaged. Even from across the street, Declan could see the bruising starting to bloom across her cheeks. She looked directly at his truck. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Just a seal and a waitress staring at each other through falling snow. Then she raised one hand. Not quite a wave, more like an acknowledgement. "Come inside," the gesture said. "Or maybe I knew you'd follow me." Declan killed the engine. "Stay alert," he told Sargent. The dog's ears swiveled forward, on duty. Declan crossed the street. The snow crunched under his boots, military issue still. He hadn't been able to bring himself to buy civilian footwear yet. Everything else about his life might be falling apart, but at least his feet were regulation. Autumn held the door open, didn't speak, just stepped aside to let him enter. The inside of the house was clean but worn, furniture that had seen better decades, a television from the early 2000s, photographs on every available surface, a young couple on their wedding day, a baby, a little girl blowing out birthday candles. The smell hit him like a punch. Not bad, just lived in. Coffee and something baking and the particular scent of a home where people actually lived instead of just existed. Declan hadn't been in a real home in 3 years. "You followed me." Autumn's voice was flat, stating fact, not asking questions. "Yes." "Why?" "Good question." Declan didn't have a good answer. "To make sure you got home safe. And now that I'm home, now I leave." She studied him. Her eyes were brown and tired and carried the weight of someone who'd been surviving instead of living for a long time. "You don't look like you're leaving." She was right. His body was still in the doorway, but his training was already mapping the house. Exits, sightlines, defensive positions, all the habits that made him a good soldier and a terrible dinner guest. "Who are you?" Autumn asked. "Declan Thorne. I was just passing through." "You stopped?" "Yeah." "Why?" "Because I'm tired of watching people get hurt. Because I've spent 15 years following orders from people who didn't care about collateral damage. Because that look on your face when Sterling grabbed your hair reminded me of every civilian I couldn't protect in Iraq. Seemed like the right thing to do." Autumn's laugh was short and sharp. "The right thing? When was the last time the right thing mattered in this town?" Before Declan could answer, a voice came from deeper in the house. Old, female, commanding. "Autumn, who's at the door?" "Just someone from the diner, Grandma." "Well, don't leave them standing in the cold. Where are your manners?" Autumn's expression shifted, still tired, still wary, but with a flicker of something else. Affection, maybe. "Come on, you might as well meet her. She'll just keep yelling if you don't." The kitchen was the warmest room in the house, literally and figuratively. An old woman sat at a small table, a mug of tea steaming in front of her. Late 70s white hair pulled back in a bun, skin weathered by decades of hard living. Her eyes were sharp, assessing. She looked at Declan the way drill sergeants looked at new recruits, seeing everything, judging. "Military," she said, not a question. "Yes, ma'am. Navy, retired." "How long?" 3 weeks. Her eyes narrowed. "You don't retire from the military at your age. You leave because you have to." Declan didn't respond, didn't need to. The old woman nodded, satisfied. "I'm Harper Monroe, Autumn's grandmother, and you are to Declan Thorne." "Well, Mr. Thorne, that's quite a shiner my granddaughter is sporting. You have anything to do with that?" "No, ma'am. I tried to stop it." Harper's gaze shifted to Autumn, back to Declan, reading the truth in their faces. "Sterling Vaughn." Autumn nodded. Harper's jaw tightened. "That boy needs to learn consequences." She looked at Declan. "I'm guessing you tried to teach him some—" "I suggested he let go of your granddaughter's hair." "And he called the sheriff." Harper snorted. "Of course he did. Tucker's been in Colton Vaughn's pocket for 20 years. She took a sip of tea. "So what brings you here, Mr. Thorne? Guilt, obligation, boredom?" "Grandma," Autumn started. "It's a fair question." Declan pulled out a chair, sat. The kitchen table was small enough that his knees almost touched Harper's. "I don't have a good answer." "Try." Declan looked at his hands. Scarred knuckles. Calluses in places civilians didn't get them. Hands that had killed people. "I lost 3 men in Iraq 2 months ago. IED. They died. I didn't. The military gave me a medical discharge and sent me home." "Home where?" "Nowhere, really. I rent a cabin in Whitefish, temporary. Family. Mother in Seattle. Cancer. I was driving to see her when the storm hit." Harper absorbed this. "So you stopped at a diner for coffee, saw something you didn't like, intervened, then followed my granddaughter home to make sure she was safe." She paused. "That about cover it?" "Yes, ma'am." "You some kind of hero?" The question landed like a fist. Declan felt his throat tighten. No, ma'am, just someone who couldn't walk away. Harper studied him for another long moment. Then she stood, walked to the stove, and poured another mug of tea. Set it in front of Declan. Drink. You look like you need it. The tea was too hot and too sweet, but Declan drank anyway. The warmth spread through his chest. He hadn't realized how cold he'd been until he wasn't. The Vaughns have owned this town for 40 years, Harper said. She sat back down, folding her hands around her own mug. Colton came here in the 80s, bought up everything. The mill, the marina, half the commercial real estate, said he was going to revitalize the community. What happened? Declan asked. He did revitalize it on his terms, raised rents until local businesses couldn't survive, bought them out for pennies, replaced them with operations he controlled. Harper's voice was matter-of-fact, reciting history, not complaining. Anyone who resisted had accidents, fires, injuries, mysterious disappearances. The authorities didn't investigate. Harper's smile was bitter. The authorities work for Colton, Sheriff Tucker, the mayor, half the city council, all of them on the Vaughn payroll one way or another. Autumn stood at the counter, her back to them. Her shoulders were tight. Grandma, you don't need to. He should know what he's walking into. Harper's eyes stayed on Declan. Autumn's husband died 2 years ago. Construction accident, fell from a scaffold. They said he wasn't wearing a safety harness. He always wore his harness, Autumn said quietly. Always. Garrett was careful. He had a daughter. He wouldn't take risks. What was he doing before he died? Declan already knew the answer. Could feel it coming. Working for Ashford Construction. That's the Vaughn company. Autumn turned around. Her eyes were wet, but no tears fell. She'd learned not to cry. Garrett told me he saw things on the job site, men who didn't belong there, meetings between Colton Vaughn and people in expensive suits, money changing hands. He wanted to report it, Harper added. Autumn begged him not to. She knew what the Vaughns did to people who talked. 2 days later he fell. Autumn's voice was flat, dead. 40 feet, broke his neck. Sheriff Tucker ruled it accidental. The insurance company paid out half what they should have, and we were left with questions nobody would answer. Declan felt the familiar weight settling on his shoulders, the weight of other people's pain, other people's injustice, the weight he'd tried to leave behind in Iraq. Your daughter, he said. Ivy, how old? Autumn's expression softened slightly. 5. She's sleeping. She has school tomorrow. And the heart condition. Her eyes widened. How did you... The prescription bottles on the counter. The medical equipment in the corner. Declan nodded toward a nebulizer sitting on a shelf. I did combat medicine. You learn to read a room. Autumn sagged against the counter. She was born with a defect, needs surgery. The doctors say without it, she couldn't finish. How much? $200,000. Insurance won't cover it. They say it's pre-existing, experimental, not medically necessary. Her laugh was hollow. My daughter's heart is failing and they call it not medically necessary. How much have you saved? $847. The number came out like a confession. I work double shifts. I pick up every extra hour I can, but between rent and medication and keeping food on the table. She shook her head. I was going to save for 2 years, work every day, every shift, no breaks, no sick days, just 2 more years and maybe I'd have enough. And then Sterling got you fired, Harper said. Declan's head snapped toward Autumn. What? She pulled out her phone, showed him a text message from her boss at the diner. Timestamp 20 minutes ago. Don't bother coming in tomorrow. Vaughn called. You're done. The words blurred as Declan stared at them. Rage built in his chest. Not the hot combat rage, the cold kind, the dangerous kind. That's illegal, he said. This is Ember Falls. Harper's voice carried decades of bitter experience. Nothing's illegal if a Vaughn does it. A sound from the hallway, small footsteps padding across worn carpet. All 3 of them turned. A little girl stood in the doorway. 5 years old, pajamas with cartoon characters, brown hair tangled from sleep, brown eyes just like her mother's, and in her chest, even from across the room, Declan could hear it. The slight wheeze, the irregular rhythm, the sound of a heart working too hard to keep a small body alive. "Mama." Ivy's voice was soft, uncertain. "Who's that man?" Autumn moved immediately, scooped her daughter up, held her close. "Just a friend, baby. Go back to bed." "I heard yelling. Grandma and I were just talking loud. Everything's okay." But Ivy was looking at Declan over her mother's shoulder, studying him with the solemn intensity of children who'd learned early that the world was bigger and scarier than adults pretended. "You have a dog," Ivy said. Declan blinked. "What? You smell like dog. Is he nice?" Despite everything, Declan almost smiled. "Yeah, he's nice. His name is Sergeant. That's a funny name for a dog. He used to be in the army with me. Is he a hero dog?" The question hit harder than it should have. Declan thought about Sergeant dragging him out of the explosion, thought about the shrapnel scars, thought about the nightmares the dog still had whimpering in his sleep legs running from invisible enemies. "Yeah," Declan said quietly. "He's a hero." Ivy smiled. "Can I meet him?" "Ivy, sweetie, it's late," Autumn started. "Tomorrow?" Declan interrupted. "If your mom says it's okay, I'll bring him by tomorrow. You can meet him." Ivy's smile widened. "Promise. Promise." Autumn carried her daughter back to bed. Declan heard soft voices, a mother singing, the sound of unconditional love trying to hold back an uncaring world. Harper refilled his tea, sat down again. "You planning on staying? I need to get to Seattle. My mother—" "Your mother's dying. You said that, but she's not dead yet." Harper's eyes bored into him. "And this little girl might be if someone doesn't help her mother keep working. I can't fight the Vaughns. I'm one man. You were a SEAL. Don't they teach you to fight outnumbered? They teach you to choose your battles, to know when you're outmatched. And are you outmatched?" Declan thought about it, really thought. Colton Vaughn had money, political connections, Sheriff Tucker, private security, an entire town infrastructure designed to protect his interests. Declan had a truck, a traumatized dog, and a skill set designed for foreign wars. "Yes," he said, "I'm outmatched." Harper nodded slowly. "Then why are you still here?" Good question. Why was he still here? Why hadn't he already left? His mother needed him. Seattle was waiting. Every minute he delayed was a minute he might not get back with the woman who'd raised him. But he kept seeing Autumn's face when Sterling grabbed her hair. Kept hearing Ivy's wheeze. Kept feeling the familiar weight of responsibility settling onto shoulders that already carried too much. "I don't know," he admitted. "Let me tell you something, Mr. Thorne." Harper leaned forward. "I marched with Martin Luther King in '63. I got arrested 6 times for sitting at lunch counters where black folks weren't supposed to sit. I watched police turn fire hoses on children. Watched dogs, real attack dogs, not hero dogs like yours, tear into protesters who just wanted to be treated like human beings." She paused. "You know what I learned? Evil wins when good people decide they're outmatched. Evil counts on it. Counts on decent folks doing the math and deciding the cost is too high. This isn't the civil rights movement. No, it's one woman trying to save her daughter. One family being crushed by a system that protects the powerful and abandons everyone else." Harper's voice hardened. "That's every civil rights movement that ever mattered." Autumn returned, stood in the doorway, listening. "I told Ivy you'd bring your dog tomorrow," she said. "I hope that's okay." "It's okay. Will you actually come back?" Declan should say no, should stand up, should walk out and get back on the highway and let this town and its problems fade behind him. But he looked at Autumn, at the bruises on her face, at the fear in her eyes that was slowly being replaced by something else, not hope exactly. More like the possibility of hope, the idea that maybe, just maybe, someone might actually help instead of looking away. He'd looked away too many times in Iraq, told himself it wasn't his fight, followed orders even when the orders were wrong, watched innocent people suffer because mission parameters didn't include protecting civilians. He was done looking away. "I'll come back," Declan said. Harper smiled. First genuine smile since he'd arrived. "Good. Now get out of here before Tucker drives by and sees your truck." Declan stood, started toward the door, stopped. "I'm going to need information. Everything you know about the Vaughns, business connections, properties, patterns, anything that might be useful." "You planning something?" Autumn asked. "Not yet, but if I'm going to help, I need to know what I'm up against." Harper was already moving to a closet, pulled out a cardboard box, set it on the table. Inside were folders, newspaper clippings, handwritten notes. "I've been collecting this for 40 years, she said. "Every suspicious death, every mysterious fire, every business that got bought out or burned down, I always thought maybe someday someone would care enough to look." Declan took the box. It was heavier than it looked. Decades of injustice packed into cardboard and paper. "I'll read through it tonight, and then I'll figure out if there's a way to fight this without getting everyone killed." He was halfway to the door when Autumn spoke again. "Why are you really doing this?" Declan turned, looked at her, at Harper, at the photographs on the wall of a family that had been whole once and was now held together by determination and hope. "I had a team in Iraq," he said quietly. 6 men. We went through hell together. 2 months ago, 3 of them died in an explosion. I couldn't save them." His throat tightened. "Maybe I can save you." Autumn's eyes glistened. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. I haven't done anything." "You stopped. That's more than anyone else has done in 2 years." Declan walked out into the snow. Sergeant was waiting in the truck, alert and focused. The dog's tail wagged once when Declan climbed in. "We're staying," Declan told him. Sergeant's tail wagged again. The dog understood. Another mission, another fight, another chance to do what they'd been trained to do. Declan started the engine, but before he pulled away, he made a call. The phone rang 4 times, then a familiar voice. "Commander, it's 2 in the morning. I know, Boone. I need a favor. You're supposed to be on leave, visiting your mom. Something came up. I need you to run a background check. Colton Vaughn, Ember Falls, Montana, everything you can find. Financial records, business connections, legal history, anything that doesn't smell right." A pause. "This official business, no." "Then why?" "Because I'm about to do something stupid, and I need to know how stupid it is before I commit." Another pause, longer. Then, "How deep do you want me to dig?" "All the way down, Boone, all the way down." "Give me 24 hours. You've got 12. Declan hung up, looked at the box of files on the passenger seat, at Sargent, who was watching him with those amber eyes that had seen him at his worst and stayed loyal anyway. At the yellow house where a woman and her daughter were trying to survive in a town that wanted them to disappear. Seattle was 800 miles away. His mother was dying. Every instinct told him to leave, but Declan Thorne had spent 15 years following orders, following protocols, following the path of least resistance, even when it meant looking away from suffering. He was done following. He was going to war. The morning Autumn walked into the Vaughn beach house. Frost covered the windows like lace. She arrived at 0700 exactly. Not a minute early, not a minute late. The kind of punctuality that came from years of waitressing, where 30 seconds could mean the difference between a good tip and nothing. The service entrance was around back, a plain door marked with peeling paint and a faded staff-only sign. Autumn took a breath, adjusted the button camera Declan had sewn into her coat, felt the weight of the wire taped against her ribs. In her ear, so quiet she almost missed it, Declan's voice. "I'm here. I'm listening. You're not alone." She knocked. The woman who answered was older, 60 maybe, Latina, kind eyes but tired. She wore a housekeeper's uniform, simple and practical. "You're the new girl, Autumn, yes?" "Yes, ma'am." "I'm Maria, come. I'll show you what needs to be done." The beach house was massive, all glass and ocean views and furniture that cost more than Autumn had earned in her entire life. Maria led her through a service hallway, explaining as they went. "Miss Diane wakes at 8. She takes coffee on the deck, weather permitting. You'll prepare it. Black, No sugar, 1 ice cube. 1 ice cube, exactly one. She counts. They entered the kitchen, industrial, professional, the kind of kitchen where actual chefs work, not housewives. Mr. Sterling stays in the East Wing when he visits, which is often. He's particular about his towels, white, Egyptian cotton. If there's any stain, any mark, he'll notice. Autumn thought about Sterling's hands in her hair, the sound her nose made when it broke. She forced her expression neutral. Understood. And Ms. Diane's office. Maria's voice dropped slightly. You don't enter unless she calls you. Ever. Understood. Why? Maria looked at her, really looked. Because girls who enter without permission don't work here long. The implication hung in the air. I understand, Autumn said. Maria showed her the rest. The bedrooms, the bathrooms, the sitting rooms with views that stretched to the horizon. Wealth so casual it was obscene. At 0800 a bell chimed. Ms. Diane is awake, Maria said. I'll prepare her coffee. You start with the upstairs bathrooms. Autumn climbed the stairs. The button camera captured everything. Expensive art on the walls. Photographs of the Vaughn family from decades past. Colton and Diane on their wedding day, young and smiling like they actually loved each other. She reached the master bathroom. Marble and gold fixtures, a shower big enough for 6 people. She cleaned methodically, the way her mother had taught her. Corners first, then surfaces, then floors. Make it spotless, make yourself invisible. Through the wire she heard Declan breathing, steady, patient, waiting. An hour passed. 2, at 1000 hours Diane Vaughn appeared. Autumn was dusting the upstairs hallway when she heard footsteps. She turned. Diane stood at the top of the stairs. Late 40s but maintained like a vintage car. Expensive surgery, personal trainers, the kind of beauty that required full-time effort. You're Autumn. Yes, ma'am. Diane studied her, eyes moving from face to hands to posture, reading, assessing. Maria says you're competent. I try to be, ma'am. Trying isn't enough. In this house you either are or you're gone. Diane moved closer. Tell me, why did you really apply for this job? Autumn's heart hammered. I need the money. My daughter has a heart condition. Yes, I read your application. Diane's smile was cold. But there are other jobs, other opportunities. Why here? Why work for the family whose company employed your husband when he died? The question was a trap. Autumn could feel it. Answer wrong and she'd be out the door, or worse. Because you pay well, Autumn said carefully, and because I can't afford pride. My daughter needs surgery. If working here means she lives, then I'll do it. Diane watched her for a long moment, then nodded. Good. Honesty. I appreciate that. She turned toward the stairs. There's a filing cabinet in my office. 2nd drawer. It's jammed. Fix it. Autumn blinked. Ma'am, I thought I wasn't supposed to. I'm telling you to. That's permission. Diane didn't look back. Don't make me repeat myself. She descended the stairs. Autumn stood frozen. In her ear, Declan's voice was urgent. It's a test. She's watching to see if you'll snoop. Autumn moved to the office. The door was open, inviting. Inside the office was surprisingly sparse. A desk, a computer, a single filing cabinet against the wall. And cameras. 3 of them. Visible. Obvious. Diane was absolutely watching. Autumn approached the filing cabinet, pulled the 2nd drawer. It stuck. She wiggled it, applied pressure. It slid open with a screech of metal, empty. There was never anything to fix, just a test. Autumn closed the drawer, left the office, found Diane in the sitting room reading. It's fixed, ma'am. Good, you can go. Ma'am, my shift isn't. I said you can go. Come back tomorrow, same time. Autumn left, walked to her car, drove 3 blocks, then pulled over and sat shaking. In her ear, Declan's voice, gentle now, concerned. You okay? She knows. Knows what? Something. I don't know what, but she knows something's off. That whole thing with the filing cabinet, she was testing me. Did you pass? I think so. But Declan, I can't go back there. It's too dangerous. A pause. Then, you don't have to. We can stop right now. I'll find another way. Autumn thought about Ivy, about the surgery that would save her daughter's life or the lack of surgery that would end it. About Garrett lying in the ground because he'd tried to do the right thing. "No," she said. "I'm going back, but I need to be smarter." Day 2 was different. Diane wasn't home. Sterling was. Autumn heard him before she saw him. Loud voice, entitled laugh. The sound of a man who'd never been told no. He was in the kitchen with Maria, standing too close, talking too loud. "And I told her, if you don't like the way I drive, get your own car." He laughed. "Women, right?" Maria's smile was forced. "Yes, Mr. Sterling." He turned. Saw Autumn in the doorway. Recognition didn't come. Not even a flicker. Autumn was just another servant, invisible. "Who's this?" Sterling asked Maria. "The new housekeeper, Autumn." "Well, Autumn, make yourself useful. I need my gym bag from upstairs, second bedroom on the right." Autumn climbed the stairs, found the bedroom. The gym bag sat on a chair. She picked it up and saw the laptop. Open, unlocked, screen still lit, email visible from Diane Vaughn to Sterling Vaughn. Subject Thursday shipment. Autumn's hand moved before she thought. Phone out, camera app, 3 photos, fast, professional. Footsteps on the stairs. She grabbed the gym bag, turned. Sterling stood in the doorway. "What took you so long?" "Sorry, sir, couldn't find it." He took the bag, looked at her. Really looked this time. Something shifted behind his eyes. Recognition trying to surface. "Do I know you?" "No, sir. You look familiar. I have one of those faces." He stared for another moment, then shrugged. "Whatever. Get out." Autumn descended the stairs on shaking legs, handed the photos off to Declan through a dead drop in the bathroom. A loose tile. A waterproof bag. Simple spycraft. That night, Declan called. "The emails are good, really good. Diane's coordinating the shipment directly, references Volkov by name. That's the Bratva connection confirmed." "Is it enough?" "It's a start, but we need more. Financial records, shipping manifests, proof of payment." "Where would that be?" "Diane's computer, the one in her office." The office with 3 cameras. "I can't," Autumn said. "She'll see." "Not if the cameras are down." "How do we—" "I'm working on it. Give me 24 hours, day 3. The cameras in Diane's office went dark at 1100 hours. Autumn was dusting the hallway when it happened. The red recording lights blinked out. 1, 2, 3. In her ear, Boone's voice. "You're clear. I'm looping the feed. You've got 7 minutes." Autumn moved fast, into the office, straight to the computer. Unlocked. Password saved. She navigated to documents, found folders labeled by year, opened the most recent spreadsheets, hundreds of them, payments, routes, container numbers, everything. She pulled out a USB drive, started copying. The transfer bar crawled. 20%, 30, footsteps in the hall. Autumn froze. The footsteps passed, kept going. 60%, 70, the front door opened. Voices, Diane and someone else, male, speaking Russian. 80%. "Autumn, you need to abort," Declan said urgently. "Diane's home. She's with... almost done. 90%. The footsteps were coming back. Closer. 100%. Autumn ejected the USB, pocketed it, moved to the filing cabinet, pretended to be organizing. Diane appeared in the doorway. Behind her, one of the Russians Declan had described. Tall, cold eyes, the look of a man who'd killed people and forgotten their names. "What are you doing in here?" Diane's voice was ice. "The filing cabinet, ma'am. You asked me to fix it yesterday. It's sticking again." Diane's eyes narrowed. "I told you to fix it, not to come back unless called." "I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought..." "Don't think. Do what you're told. Nothing more." Diane looked at the Russian. "Wait for me in the study." He left. Diane approached Autumn, stood close, too close. "I know who you are," she said quietly. Autumn's blood turned to ice. "You're Garrett Rivers' widow, the woman my ex-husband's son assaulted in that pathetic diner." Diane smiled. "Did you really think I wouldn't recognize you? I needed work. You needed revenge, or justice, or whatever pretty word people use when they want to hurt the people who hurt them." Diane's voice stayed calm, conversational. The question is, are you smart enough to actually do something, or are you just another victim waiting to happen? Autumn didn't answer. Couldn't. Here's what's going to happen, Diane continued. You're going to finish your shift, you're going to go home, and you're never coming back. If you try to cause problems, your daughter's medical coverage will be revoked. Permanently. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Good. Now get out of my house. Autumn walked out, drove away. Made it 2 blocks before she had to pull over and throw up. In her ear, Declan was already moving. I'm coming to get you. Where are you? I'm okay. I got it. I got everything. Autumn. I got everything, Declan. The files. The proof. We have them. That night, they gathered at Autumn's house. Declan, Boone, Holloway, Nash, Harper, and Autumn still shaking from the day's events. Boone plugged in the USB, opened the files. His eyes widened. Holy hell, this is everything. Financial records going back 15 years, every transaction, every payoff, every shipment. He looked at Declan. This is enough to bring down the whole operation. Then we move, Declan said. Tonight. We get this to the FBI before Vaughn realizes what we have. Wait. Autumn's voice was quiet. Diane knows. She recognized me. She'll tell Colton. They'll run. Not if we move fast enough. Harper cleared her throat. There's another problem. Sheriff Tucker, if we go through him, this evidence disappears. We don't go through Tucker. We go around him. Declan pulled out his phone. I have a contact, FBI Seattle, Agent Maria Reeves. She's clean. I'll call her directly. He made the call, put it on speaker. Reeves answered after 3 rings. This is Reeves. Agent Reeves, this is Commander Declan Thorne, retired Navy SEAL. I have evidence of a major trafficking operation in Ember Falls, Montana. Russian mob, fentanyl, approximately $500 million annually. I need federal intervention immediately. A pause. Commander Thorne, I'm going to need you to slow down and explain. No time. The subjects are aware we have evidence. They're going to run or destroy it. I need you here, tonight, with enough agents to make arrests before they disappear. What kind of evidence are we talking about? Financial records, shipping manifests, email communications between Colton Vaughn and Bratva operatives, 15 years of documentation, everything you need for a RICO case. Another pause, longer. Then where are you? Declan gave the address. Stay there. Don't move. Don't contact anyone. I'm mobilizing a team now. ETA 4 hours. The call ended. 4 hours. 240 minutes. An eternity. They waited in Autumn's living room. Silent. Tense. At hour 2, Ivy woke up. Came downstairs in her pajamas. Saw all the adults sitting in the dark. Mama, what's wrong? Autumn pulled her daughter close. Nothing, baby, just grown-up stuff. Go back to bed. I'm scared. I know. But you know what Mr. Declan and Sergeant are here. They protect people. That's their job. Ivy looked at Declan. Will you protect us? Yes, Declan said. No hesitation. I will. Promise. Promise. Ivy hugged her mother, went back upstairs. At hour 3, headlights appeared outside. Everyone tensed. Hands moved to weapons. But it wasn't the FBI. It was Sheriff Tucker. He got out of his cruiser, walked to the door, knocked. Declan answered, positioned himself in the doorway, blocking entry. Sheriff, Mr. Thorne, we need to talk. About the fact that you're about to make a very big mistake. Tucker's voice was measured, calm. Colton Vaughn called me. Said someone broke into his property, stole confidential business records. That's burglary, possibly industrial espionage. I have a warrant to search this residence. He held up a paper, official seal, signed by a judge. You can't come in, Declan said. I can and I will, unless you want to add obstruction to the charges. Behind Declan, Boone was moving, grabbing the USB, hiding it. Tucker pushed past Declan into the house. He saw everyone, Autumn, Harper, the 3 former SEALs. Well, quite the gathering. He looked at Autumn. Ms. Rivers, where's the material you stole from Ms. Vaughn's computer? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. Diane Vaughn has camera footage of you in her office, at her computer. You took something. I want it back. The cameras were off, Autumn said. Were they? Tucker smiled. Diane's smarter than you think. She has a backup system, separate network. You didn't know about it. The words landed like a punch. They'd been recorded the whole time. I'm going to search this house, Tucker said, top to bottom, and I'm going to find whatever you took, and then you're all going to jail for... The sound of vehicles outside. Multiple. Moving fast. Tucker's face went pale. The door burst open. FBI. 20 agents. Armored, armed, professional. Agent Maria Reeves at the front. Mid-40s, Hispanic, eyes like a hawk. Sheriff Tucker, step away from the civilians. Tucker raised his hands. Now hold on, I have a warrant, and I have a federal warrant for your arrest. Corruption, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit murder. Reeves nodded to her agents. Cuff him. 2 agents moved in. Tucker struggled. You can't do this, I'm the sheriff. You're a criminal who happens to wear a badge, not the same thing. They dragged him out. Reeves turned to Declan. Commander Thorne, I'm Agent Maria Reeves. You called me. Yes, ma'am. You said you had evidence. Boone stepped forward, held up the USB. Everything. 15 years of financial records, shipping manifests, communications with the Bratva, all of it. Reeves took the drive. And the subjects Colton and Diane Vaughn. At their estate, 20 minutes from here. Then we move. Now. She looked at Declan. You're coming with us. I might need someone who knows the layout. Yes, ma'am. Autumn stood. I'm coming too. Ma'am, this is a federal operation. Those people killed my husband, threatened my daughter. I'm coming. Reeves studied her, saw the determination, the steel underneath the fear. Fine, but you stay in the vehicle. Non-negotiable. The convoy moved out. 6 vehicles, 30 agents. Declan rode in Reeves' SUV. Autumn beside him, Sergeant in the back. Tell me about the Russians, Reeves said as they drove. 2 operators, ex-Spetsnaz, professional, armed. They'll fight. How do you know they're there? Because Colton Vaughn knows we're coming. He'll have called them for protection. Reeves nodded. Then we go in hard, fast, no chances. They reached the Vaughn estate at 0200 hours. The house was lit up, every window, like a beacon. They're waiting, Declan said. Good, let them wait. Reeves deployed her team, perimeter security, snipers, entry teams, professional, coordinated. Declan watched through night vision, saw shapes moving inside the house. Guards, maybe 6, the Russians would be with Vaughn, protecting their investment. We're going to try negotiation first, Reeves said. Give them a chance to surrender. She raised a megaphone. Colton Vaughn, Diane Vaughn, this is the FBI. You are surrounded. Come out with your hands visible. Silence. Then a voice, amplified from inside. Colton's voice. Agent Reeves, I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. We've done nothing wrong. This is harassment. We have evidence of drug trafficking, murder, corruption. Come out now and we can discuss this peacefully. I don't think so. You see, I have something you want. Or rather, someone. A light came on in the upstairs window. A figure appeared. Small. Young. Declan's blood froze. Ivy. They had Ivy. Beside him, Autumn screamed, No, no, she was at home. Harper was watching her. Reeves grabbed her radio. Status on the grandmother at the Rivers residence. The response crackled back. Unconscious. Appears to be drugged. Medical en route. Autumn was out of the vehicle before anyone could stop her. Running toward the house. Screaming her daughter's name. Get her back! Reeves shouted. Declan was already moving. Caught Autumn. Held her as she fought. Let me go. They have my daughter. I know. But running in there gets you both killed. I don't care. I do. Ivy needs you alive. Autumn collapsed in his arms, sobbing. Colton's voice came again. Here's what's going to happen, Agent Reeves. You're going to withdraw your people. You're going to destroy that evidence, and then maybe the child lives. You have 5 minutes to decide. Reeves looked at Declan. Can we breach? Not without casualties, probably including the girl. Then what do you suggest? Declan looked at the house, at the windows, at the defensive positions. He thought about Fallujah, About hostage rescues, about the impossible operations that became possible when you stopped playing by the enemy's rules. I go in alone, he said. Trade myself for the girl. That's suicide. Maybe, but it's also unexpected. Vaughn wants leverage. I give him better leverage. A Navy SEAL. Someone he can parade on camera as proof the government is corrupt. I can't authorize that. You don't have to. I'm a civilian. I volunteer. Reeves stared at him. If you die in there, then at least Ivy lives. That's all that matters. He looked at Autumn. Trust me, please. She searched his eyes. Found something there. Certainty, maybe. Or just the determination of a man who'd already lost too much. Okay, she whispered. Declan stood, raised his hands, walked toward the house. Vaughn, I'm coming in, alone, unarmed. Let the girl go. A pause, then the front door opened. Sterling Vaughn stood there, smiling. Come on in, hero, let's talk. Declan walked into the house, the door closed behind him. And Autumn stood outside holding Sargent, praying to a god she hoped was listening. Inside the house was a fortress, guards at every entrance, the two Russians in the study, and in the center of it all, Colton Vaughn sitting in a chair like a king on a throne. Ivy sat on the couch beside him, unharmed, terrified. Commander Thorne, Colton said, so good of you to join us. Let the girl go, you have me. That's better leverage. Is it because I'm thinking a child works better, more sympathetic, better optics? Declan forced himself to stay calm. You're not winning this, Colton. The FBI has the evidence. Even if you kill me, even if you kill Ivy, you're done. Maybe, but I'll take you with me. Colton stood. See, I built this empire from nothing, 40 years. I'm not going to let some broken soldier and a waitress destroy it. You destroyed it yourself, the moment you chose money over people. Colton smiled. Philosophical. I expected better from a warrior. One of the Russians moved, hand on his weapon. Sergeant outside with Autumn started barking, loud, aggressive, the warning bark. Declan's phone buzzed, text from Boone. Snipers have targets. Say the word. Declan looked at Ivy, at the guards, at the impossible geometry of a rescue. Then he looked at Colton. You're right about one thing. I am broken. PTSD, nightmares, survivor's guilt. I wake up every day wondering why I'm alive when better men died. Touching. But you know what I learned, broken things can still be dangerous. Declan's voice dropped, especially when they have nothing left to lose. He moved, not toward Colton, toward Ivy. The Russians raised their weapons. Sterling shouted. Guards converged. Sergeant crashed through the window. 92 pounds of German Shepherd, glass exploding. The dog hit the nearest Russian, jaws on the gun arm, bones snapping. Declan grabbed Ivy, covered her with his body. Gunfire erupted. FBI snipers took the guards in the windows. Reeves' entry team breached the door. Flashbangs, smoke, chaos. Declan stayed down, shielding Ivy. Sergeant stood over them both, growling, protecting. When the smoke cleared, Colton Vaughn was on the ground, cuffed. Diane Vaughn was cuffed beside him, calm, resigned. Sterling was unconscious, tackled by an FBI agent. The Russians were down, one dead, one wounded. It was over. Reeves appeared. Commander, the girl... Declan looked down. Ivy was crying, shaking, but alive. She's okay? And you... Declan realized he was bleeding. Shoulder, grazed, didn't even feel it. I'm okay. Autumn burst through the door, saw Ivy, ran. Mother and daughter collided, holding each other, sobbing. Declan stood, looked at Sergeant. The dog's shoulder was bleeding, glass cuts, nothing serious. Good boy, Declan whispered. Sergeant's tail wagged. They walked out of the house together. Into the cold Montana night. Into freedom. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Autumn testified on day 4. Told the jury about Garrett, about the threats, about everything the Vaughns had done. Colton sat emotionless. Diane took notes. Sterling stared at his hands. The verdict came on a Friday. Colton Vaughn guilty. All counts. Life without parole. Diane Vaughn guilty. All counts. 45 years. Sterling Vaughn guilty. All counts. 50 years. Sheriff Tucker guilty. 25 years. 18 others across 3 states, all guilty. The Vaughn empire collapsed in a single day. 2 weeks later, Ivy had her surgery. Declan sat in the waiting room with Autumn, holding her hand, not speaking, just present, 6 hours. Then the surgeon emerged. The surgery was successful. Her heart is repaired. She's going to be fine. Autumn broke down, years of fear and stress releasing in one moment. Declan held her, let her cry. When Ivy woke up, her first words were, "Can I see Sergeant now?" Everyone laughed. 3 years later, on a Saturday in June, Declan Thorne married Autumn Rivers. The ceremony was small, just family and friends. Tom Henderson, Maria from the beach house, the FBI agents who'd helped. Boone was best man, Holloway and Nash were groomsmen. Ivy was flower girl, 8 years old now, healthy, strong. Sergeant carried the rings, slow and limping, 15 years old, gray around the muzzle, but still present, still loyal. Harper officiated, tears in her eyes. "Do you, Declan Thorne, take this woman?" "I do." "Do you, Autumn Rivers, take this man?" "I do." "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." They kissed. The town erupted in applause. Ember Falls had survived, was thriving. The Vaughn properties had been seized, redistributed, used for good. Rivers Diner was the heart of it all, where people gathered, where community happened. Declan's K-9 training center employed 15 veterans, helped 63 soldiers reconnect with life. Sergeant lived another year, died peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by the family he'd saved. At his funeral, the whole town came, because everyone understood that this dog, this hero, had done more than protect one family. He'd reminded them all what courage looked like, what loyalty meant, what was worth fighting for. And as Declan stood at Sergeant's grave, hand in Autumn's hand, Ivy beside them, he finally understood. He'd spent years wondering why he survived Fallujah. Now he knew, not to die with his team, but to live for this family, this moment, this purpose. He was home, finally, completely home.